Hello, one and all! This is my review of Ascendance of Bookworm, Part 5, Volume 9, and I can't help but feel like this volume was structured very strangely. Like, we started off a battle against Grossum, technically part of the defense of Ehrenfest, Victory Party, Myne's PTSD, a whole bunch of other stuff, Myne officially deciding to become the Archduke of Arnsbeck, and then her going to face off against a whole new war, a whole new battle, and then after that, after the epilogue, we got the side stories, which were the rest of the defense of Ehrenfest. And we kind of, already knew what was going to happen in those, both because, hey, Ehrenfest won the war, we know that, and because Myne got like a full recap once she got back. So seeing that all laid out again after the battle, after Myne already moved on to the next thing 5 times over, just felt very, very weird to me. Like, I understand why the author had to do this. She set up a very, clear formula in her stories. Prologue is from some other character's point of view. Main story is Myne's point of view. Epilogue and side stories are from other characters' points of view. So it would have been weird to have, like, the defense of Ehrenfest before everything happened. I mean, maybe it could have worked if the Battle of Grossum was included in Volume 8, and then instead of the Battle of Ehrenfest chapters, we actually got like a whole side story collection. Ascendance Bookworm, the Defense of Ehrenfest. Kind of like we got the Ascendance Bookworm Royal Academy short stories. That just had all these chapters and some other fluff in there. And it was released between Volume 8 and Volume 9. I think that would have made the most sense because, we don't really need the Defense of Ehrenfest chapters. We like them, they're important, I love to see them, but they aren't really all that critical. So we just got like so we just got the recap that Myne got of the war once she got back. That would have worked out too. I don't know, but I think that bothered me. I think it bothered a lot of people, but that really bothered me. But alright, so let's talk about the volume itself, because we opened up with Grossum, and this dude... Oh, I just could not help but laugh at this whole prologue chapter, even as he was like killing and torturing people, because he goes on and on about how, yes, I have these big, evil, nefarious plans, and for some reason they just keep not working. Every single one of my plans have proceeded without issue, only to fail out of nowhere as a result of unforeseen and sometimes incomprehensible obstructions. As if there was something he was missing, something he was not considering. Yeah, dude, it's Myne, that commoner you keep dissing and try to freaking poison. Seriously, this whole chapter he's like, oh yes, why the plan to steal the Bible, and somehow Ferdinand caught on to me. How? Like, no, dude, it was Myne. Myne was the one who knows something was wrong. Myne was the one who has the good connection with the great priest, so they were able to fill her in on what happened. Myne is the book-obsessed nut who was able to realize her Bible was a fake, and Myne was the one who was able to use her commoner connections to gather information, figure out what was going on. In fact, I even said in my video of that volume, that was the first time Myne had truly felt like a noble. She gave orders. She directed her people with utter and absolute perfection, and I loved it. And then he goes on about how, oh yes, my son Matthias escaped punishment by leaking information to the Archduke. Yeah, not really. I mean, basically what happened was he decided to side with Myne because Myne had spent her entire time at the Royal Academy healing the divide between factions and proving that she was someone worthy of serving, someone worthy of following. And God above, if she hadn't done that, Ehrenfest would have fallen. Oh my god, I literally couldn't believe it when I read it. But yeah, it turns out the whole invasion of Ehrenfest, the first time around, should have happened on the day of the Purge. Meaning if Matthias had waited at all, Purge would have failed, Georgine would have invaded and fully taken over. So yeah, Grossum, your big plan, your big invasion failed because of Myne, because of this commoner. Good Lord above. And what I think is particularly funny about this is the fact that I would consider Grossum to be Myne's big bad, her arch enemy essentially. I mean, yes, there's Georgine, but Myne has literally only met this woman like once. There's Detland, but she's more of an annoyance than a threat. There is the Knight Commander Raublet, but Myne at this point doesn't even know that he's actually a threat to her. There's the King Gervasio, but again, Myne hasn't met him. So, of everyone, Grossum is the person who has done the most damage to Myne. He is her big bad, and she finally has a chance to get vengeance against him. And not just her either. I love the fact that Cornelius and Angelica got a do-over. They were able to face off against the net that captured Myne all those years ago and cut it down. Oh, I bet they're sleeping a lot better after that. Thank freaking God. Meanwhile, Matthias didn't even know his father had been the one who poisoned her, and he really got the chance to actually go toe-to-toe against his father. That was great. Especially because the battle felt like such a reflection of their masters. On one hand, you had Grossum, who had a evil mechanical black arm that absorbed mana while also very clearly doing some permanent damage to him. And whether Georgine ordered that or just was aware of it, she knows what he's doing. She knows that he's going to this battle planning on probably not coming back alive, or at least having his life severely shortened as a result. And on the other hand, you have Myne, who is standing, side by side with her knight, raining down blessings on her. That is her style. She protects those she cares about. She looks after her retainers because, she wants to support them. She wants to protect them like they protect her. I will say, though, I don't fully disagree with Grossum when he says one's loyalty shouldn't be driven by the expectation of rewards. That's true. That's very true. I mean, he is following Georgine not because he thinks, oh, I will become a Gabe, I will marry into the archduke family, I will have all these rewards given to me. He's following her because he believes in her and wants to see her dream come true. That is a very pure kind of loyalty. And meanwhile, on the other side, we have Matthias, who, he is rewarded very handsomely by Myne for everything he does, but at the same time, he follows her because she's great, she's fantastic. She cares about people and does her best to look after them, and that's something he really admires as well. So, like I said, father versus son, great clash here. Though it's not only these people that get the chance of vengeance, we also have, Gunther, who doesn't know that the fake bi-double Grossum is the person who poisoned Myne, but still, it's a noble, nobles took Myne, and he has a chance to beat the living daylights out of one of them, which, oh, good for you, Gunther, good for you. We also have Wilfried take down his own copy of Grossum, which, I don't know, that felt just kind of pathetic to me. I know I said Gunther doing it was so brave and heroic and awesome, but when Wilfried did it and then bragged about it, it's like, dude, it was a body double. It wasn't even the real one. You're a freaking Archduke candidate. You should be better than that. I don't know, maybe I'm just a little biased against Wilfried. Who knows? Also, totally forgot about this, but if we're talking about vengeance, we also have Myne, who defeated Grossum because the man literally underestimated her. He's like, with my robot hand, I can absorb all of your mana. Wait, stop. How do you have this much mana? As he literally melted away into gold dust. Ouch, man. Ouch. So yeah, Grossum is Myne's big bad, but he was just fully oblivious to her very existence, or the fact that she was the one, constantly stopping him again and again and again, and I loved it. Meanwhile, though, in the actual battle, yeah, things don't go particularly great for Myne. She wins, yes, but let's not forget, this is a girl who passed out when she saw a pig being slaughtered, and now she witnessed a severed arm slamming into her windshield. Yeah, there's a lot of death and despair and just horribleness all around her, and that alone would probably be enough for Myne to have some severe PTSD going on, but it gets so much worse as a whole bunch of people around her suddenly turn to stone, suddenly turn to face stone, including the captain of the knights who limped over to come and thank her for saving him. God dang above. I literally cannot imagine something more terrifying than that. A poison that just turns people to stone, like plop. Just plop, and they're stone. I feel like if this poison had melted their skin or done something awful like that, it would have somehow been less terrifying, but just that instant turn to stone is horrifying, absolutely horrifying, and I am in no way surprised that Myne developed PTSD as a result of this. And honestly, yeah, I get Ferdinand's guilt. He's like, oh, yeah, I know she's bad at fighting. And yet I still brought her with me, and now she can't even touch a face stone. I messed up. I seriously messed up here. That might be the most guilt Ferdinand has ever felt in his entire life, and I love it. Anyway, though, then it's time for the victory party. Huzzah! And Myne is doing fairly well. She's clearly, covering a whole lot of symptoms and is just on the verge of something very bad, but she's holding it together. She's holding it together until Sylvester decides to drop his sister's face stone directly on the table, the equivalent of her cutout heart, right there, at which point Myne's like, oh, I need to get out of here right freaking now. Oh, God above. And nobody lets her. They're all like, no, you can't. It's rude. It's disrespectful. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, dude, have you never had a panic? Have you never seen someone having a panic attack? Telling them they can't leave is literally the most terrifying thing I can imagine. I know just that someone turning to stone like that is the most terrifying thing I can imagine, but believe me, for someone who has panic attacks, or I've had them in the past, if someone told me, oh no, you can't leave right now, I might start swinging. I might genuinely start swinging at people or leap out the window. They're that terrifying. And unsurprisingly, after that, Myne has horrifying nightmares. And because it would be improper, they can't summon Ferdinand, her freaking doctor, to look at her. So instead, Judith decides to call up the archduke's wife, who has just survived a war, and ask her if it'd be okay for Myne to go enjoy some flowers. Which, if you've forgotten, is the noble euphemism for, I don't know what word YouTube will allow me to say, so I'll just say sex workers. Can you imagine this? I wish we'd gotten a side chapter just of that scene, of Florentia being like, oh God above, okay, so I told off a mother-in-law, I'm trying to comfort my husband as he just murdered his sister. I'm dealing with all these knights who just showed up basically unannounced. I'm so exhausted. And then her stepdaughter's knight shows up and says, hey, can Myne enjoy some sex workers right now? Oh my God above. I have to imagine Sylvester was like right next to her when that conversation happened, and he just fell to the floor laughing his butt off for like 10 minutes. And afterwards he's like, oh God above, I need to give Judith like a prize. I need to make her an arch noble. I need to give her a mountain of gold because she just cured my bad mood in a second. And seriously though, the thing is though, Judith had to go to a bunch of people to get approval, to get permission, and not one of them said, yeah, you don't know what that word means at all. I love it. I absolutely love it. Also because at some point down the road, she is going to find out what that word means. Someone's going to explain it to her. And she is literally going to die of embarrassments. Good Lord above. But also, can we just take a second to acknowledge that in this world, flowers are an option, are the way they treat PTSD. Is that a good idea? Is that a bad idea? I know that was done in Mushoku Tensei, but I don't really trust anything that series does. I enjoy the series, but I don't trust anything it tells me. I mean, that being said, though, it is also mentioned that the apprentice knights are given the option to speak with like higher-ups and doctors if they are having trouble sleeping, so that's great. I mean, both options are absolutely fantastic. Higher-ups, people have been through countless battles. People have experienced PTSD. People have experienced, have helped other people work through their PTSD. That's a great option. Doctors as well. Later on, Ferdinand gives Myne a potion that helps her sleep through the night. That's, all those absolutely great options. But then there's flower offerings. That's something else they're given because, I don't know. Also, that is a very weird question right there because I'm assuming that's an option only given to the men, right? I can't imagine noble women would do that because, as we've established time and time again, this is an incredibly sexist society. Let's not forget I don't want to even use this as an example because it's awful, but let's not forget Fran's former master. Yeah, that crazy chick. She was basically barred from society because it was found that she was sleeping with her Grey Priests. Her underage Grey Priests, but the noble society is more concerned about the fact they were Grey Priests at all. and now the knights are being offered flowers, and I can't imagine those are noble flowers because are those noble flowers? No, there's no way those are noble flowers. So it feels like a very sexist, biased society right there, which is what I'm assuming, but I don't know. And I've been talking about flowers for too long. So moving on, God. Then Judith invented Hannelore to go enjoy flowers with Myne, and I very, very much hope that someone else worded that message to her, because if not, holy mother of God above, that conversation would have been very, very strange for everyone involved. Oh god, I like to imagine the message did get through to Hannelore, and then when she actually got to the greenhouse and realized, oh, you meant literal flowers, she was disappointed. Obviously not, but that is just a hilarious thought. Anyway, though, then Myne and Hannelore, they have a nice little tea, they talk, and they both apologize to the other. Myne because, she dragged her knights out for way, way longer than promised, and Hannelore because, all of her knights survived, whereas the Knights of Ehrenfest, a bunch of them were killed by the poison, and so they have a nice moment, they have a prayer for the dead. It's beautiful, except for the fact that Ferdinand interpreted the prayer as an attack and rushes over to go save them. Yeah, it turns out Myne's PTSD is causing a lot of disturbances in her mana, so her prayers and blessings are way more powerful. Like later on, she goes to heal the injured knights, and apparently the prayer is so strong it covers literally the entire city, which insane. But anyway, though, Hannelore is a great friend, as she then promises to commit high treason for Myne's sake. Like, seriously, she says, Myne, let's make you the Zent so you can marry Ferdinand. Which, yeah, I mean, the Dinner Duchy, they are literally called the Zent Swords, so I don't think they should be making that promise. I mean, yes, the current Zent doesn't have the magic Bible, so he's not really a true king, but Hannelore is fully offering to overthrow the royal family for her bestie's sake. What the actual freak, girl? Like, seriously, I want you to go back home and have that conversation with your family. Like, tell them everything happened and then say, and then I promise to make Myne the Zend. And then be like, what did you say? We sent you out there to restore your honor, and you threatened high treason? Did you forget that the Archduke's third wife is from our duchy? Why would you do this? I love it, absolutely love it, especially because, oh god above, in this scene is also Karina and Thule, who are listening to this and be like, wait a minute, Myne's in love with the High Priest? Again, I need a side chapter that is just Thule's point of view for this scene. Maybe Karina's too, because she is just having the time of her life laughing at all of this. And Hannelore, God above, while she is not into dinner, she is very much of the Dudaduchy, saying, you must win your husband in fair and glorious combat, so that your parents and siblings no longer have to complain. For the sake of your happiness, I will support you as much as I can. And then her tone just fully does a 180 when Myne explains her dream to create a giant countrywide library with all the libraries connected through teleporters. I mean, Hannelore listens to this and then basically says, yeah, okay, you have to marry Ferdinand because he is the only person in the entire world who actually has a chance of containing your crazy and keeping you from going completely nuts. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Also, importantly, Ferdinand is literally the only man in the entire country, other than maybe King Gervasio, who could actually give Myne, freaking children, as Myne basically crushed the engagement charm, whatever, that Prince Siggy gave to her, meaning that Siggy is in no way a match for her mana. And I very much want to see Siggy realize that fact down the road. Oh, that would be hilarious. It'd be very much like, Detlin and her retainers like, oh, well, we can't sense Ferdinand, so therefore he must be way weaker than us, when in fact he was way, way stronger than them. Huzzah! And also, importantly, Myne actually says, like, hey, I've had great mothers my entire life, so clearly I want to be a mother too. I want to pass on that love to everyone. She says, I've been blessed with 3 great mothers. Obviously, her Earth Mother, Effa, and Elvira. She's not counting Florentia there because, yeah, sorry, Florentia. You have almost in no circumstances actually been a mother to Myne. I did like when you chastised Ferdinand, Karstead, and Sylvester for yelling at Myne all the time when, she had basically zero noble education, but not really a mother. I will also argue that, Riarda, Myne's attendant, could also be considered her fourth mother, as, she definitely guided Myne through a lot of the early years of being a noble, and may have spent more time with her than any of her other mothers. Interesting. Anyway, though, then Myne and Ferdinand go to the temple to make sure everyone's okay there. And God, I just love that Ferdinand has this slight smile as he's looking around the temple because, yeah, this was his home for a lot of years and was pretty much the first place he could really feel like safe and free and secure without Veronica constantly trying to kill him. I mean, the High Bishop was constantly causing problems, but that was a minor nuisance compared to Veronica herself. And God, just the fact that he relishes the taste of Fran's tea after so many years, and the fact that Fran actually gets an invite to go with them to Arnsbeck. Thank you, freaking God above. I mean, that was foreshadowed a while ago. I think actually in the volume where Ferdinand, left, the end of part 4, Fran said, like, hey, if Myne and Ferdinand went somewhere and they asked me to come with them, I would come in a heartbeat. I would come in a freaking heartbeat. I don't want to be left behind. They are my family. They are my home. So, yeah. Fran is definitely going to Arnsbeck to serve in the temple as something important. I don't know what his role is going to be, but it's good for him. Anyway, though, then they go to the lower city to check on all the guards and everyone else, and it's really interesting that in this moment, Ferdinand flies away with Myne on his high beast, and nobody complains. They absolutely raised a huge stink about it in the Battle of Arnsbeck, but here they're like, yep, okay, that makes sense. And I think it's because they realized, yeah, okay, we agree with Hannelore. Myne literally needs to marry the High Priest, marry Ferdinand, or the entire country is going to fall apart, so we fully ship them moving forward. With Myne being completely oblivious to it. Oh my God, seriously, Myne, so oblivious this entire volume when it came to Ferdinand and love. Like, seriously, Cornelius is like, oh, Myne, don't you worry about Elvira writing about, you and Ferdinand. She's like, I went to war. There's nothing romantic about that. Why would Mom write about that? And then Mom spent the entire, feast talking to Hannelore and putting a romantic spin on every element of Ferdinand's rescue, which doesn't really need much of a spin. Seriously, we're talking about two people who were as close as family, who exchanged face stones before they were cruelly separated by a royal decree, and then when the man was in danger, the girl literally stole a foundation to save him before changing the weather. How is that not going to be the most popular love story in the entire history of this country? At the very least, the Ditter Duchy is going to consider that to be, the standard. It's probably going to become like a pickup line like, hey girl, I'd steal a foundation for you. Absolutely love it. And then, oh God, later on when it comes to actually making the fake magic Bible, things get very, very awkward as Myne keeps copy and pasting into Ferdinand's Bible, and based on the man's reaction, I think Myne is having sex with him. I think that's what's going on in like the noble sense, the whole sharing mana back and forth. That's what she's doing. She's putting her mana inside of Ferdinand, and he's feeling very stimulated by the experience. And just so absolutely embarrassed. Oh my God, poor Ferdinand. Oh God, the line above where she says, it seemed a little cruel that he just tossed me aside the moment he was done with me. That feels intentional. That definitely feels intentional. Like, oh, that was one night stand, then he tossed me out. And Cornelius just full on said it like, hey, if you're alone in a hidden room with a man, people are gonna assume you're having sex with him, and he's not entirely wrong there. So, oh God, and then let's not forget that Myne also promised Sylvester that she would make Ferdinand happy, which, yeah, girl, you're basically proposing to him. You're basically confessing to him again and again and again. And the only one who hasn't realized it is you, and I love that. Okay, especially with this line, when the guards asked, oh, is Arnsbeck going to attack again? Ferdinand gave this grand speech. She stole their foundation, and once she has been given approval, she will rule our once dangerous neighbor. It will never invade us again. We must now leave to begin our rule. our rule. Ferdinand is literally saying, I will rule Arnsbeck by her side as her husband, and Myne is fully oblivious to the line. Seriously. Oh god, Myne's denseness is truly a thing of wonders, and I love it. And after a lot of pressure from Hannelore, Sylvester is fully on board with Myne becoming the next Archduke of Arnsbeck, as he says, I must recognize that a Zent candidate with a Grutrichet ranks even higher than the current royal family. Apparently. What kind of lecture did these guys give him? Oh my god. Love it. Absolutely love it. Anyway, though, then Myne has to go to Arnsbeck to deal with things because, the Ditter Duchy Knights are still there and have apparently been forcing the Arnsbeck Knights to have a Ditter tournament with them. Oh god, those poor knights. And have devoured all the food and alcohol they have. So insane. Absolutely insane. I literally don't know how the Ditter Duchy produces enough food and alcohol to actually provide for all these insanely hungry knights. Anyway, like I said, Myne goes back to Arnsbeck, and then she gets a letter from Detland, who once again just basically saved the entire country. The first time by failing to save Ferdinand, and the second time by revealing in her letter that she is with King Gervasio. So yeah, that is a big revelation that nobody actually knew about until this point. And when Ferdinand hears this, he decides, okay, so we need to actually start moving like right freaking now. And since it seems like King Gervasio is about to get the magic Bible, Detland, again, save the country. Good for you. I don't know what to say. I genuinely don't say about Detland being just so helpful again and again and again. But anyway, though, then the Ditter Duchy Archduke calls and says, hey, so it seems like the Sovereign Knights are actually working with the foreign invaders, which, is really, really bad. Plus, we can't get a hold of the royal family, and since Myne has the magic Bible, she's basically next in line for the throne, so we need her to give us the order to go invade the Royal Academy and stop these foreign invaders. Which seems like a very reasonable request, except Ferdinand points out, yeah, no, you're just trying to blame Myne for everything or turn her into the next Zents. So here's the counteroffer. You become the next Zents, which absolutely frustrates the Archduke. He's like, oh, well, I can't do that because blah, 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 blah. And then Ferdinand hangs up on him. I think it was just like an empty threat to buy them some time because when the dude calls back later, he never brings it up. Like, okay, we're going to invade, and when this is over, I guess I'll become Zent if there's no better option. And I do love that when he calls back later, his wife's on the phone with him, and Myne's like, I think his wife and Ferdinand get along very well. And just, God, the conversation here. As this dude is trying to hide the fact that he probably slept with the Elgasia princess, Elgasia flower, whatever it was. I was like, yes, I know exactly where the villa is, and also I know exactly how much mana she had. My man. Say less, seriously. I mean, I'm sure his wife figured out the second he mentioned where the villa was located, but oh, he is definitely gonna get an earful after this. Also, I guess this implies that he knocked up the princess, and one of Ferdinand's brothers was his son until he was turned into a face stone. Interesting. Don't know what to make of that. But either way, Myne decides to go to war a second time and invades the Royal Academy with the Duchy, hoping to stop Detland, King Gervasio, all the foreign invaders, and everybody else. Huzzah! Anyway, though, then we get the epilogue, and I'm genuinely confused why Detland is still alive. Like, seriously, Gervasio has to go with this whole thing of washing every shrine when he prays at it to trick her into thinking, oh, that's how you get the magic Bible, but what does she think is happening here? Why does she think Gervasio is also trying to get the magic Bible alongside her? And, I mean, eventually he's going to reveal the truth. Eventually, she's going to realize, hey, I didn't get the magic Bible, but you got the magic Bible. I feel like I might have been tricked here. I mean, what purpose does keeping her alive actually serve anyone? She's not even like she was never the Archduke, but she's not the current Archduke, and she wasn't the Archduke previously either. So having her there doesn't even get them like in and out of the villa. So I don't get it. Why not just kill her, tie her up, do something? Why bring her along and put on this whole, song and dance for her? It's weird. It's very, very weird. But anyway, though, then we get Knight Commander Rowblett's backstory. And holy mother of God above, is it depressing. Like, seriously, dude. He was Gervasio's knight, or the knight of Gervasio's whole house, but mostly Gervasio's knight, and was in love with the man's sister, and even after a lot of work and effort managed to get engaged to her, except then Ferdinand was taken out of the villa, meaning that his mother was turned into a face stone, and Gervasio's fiance and Roblett's fiance was turned into a flower, meaning that she was forced to have sex with a lot of strange men and give birth over and over again until the Civil War happened and she was executed. God dang, that's depressing, and I certainly get why it turned him to the path of evil. Though what I don't understand is why he hates Ferdinand so much, saying the man does not understand his place as a seed, nor does he understand the disharmony caused by so many through his leaving of the villa, which, dude, Ferdinand was like 7. He didn't choose to leave the villa. His father came and picked him up because the god of time told him to do so. So, what is your problem? Your problem should be with, the system as a whole, not just with Ferdinand, who was a child who had no idea what was happening at the time. Even though I just said, oh, he's in the path of evil, I don't necessarily disagree with Rowlett. I mean, if it wasn't for his whole weird vendetta against Ferdinand, the man makes a lot of sense. He even says, of the current king, the king he is serving, I understand his struggle and the heroics of his continued dedication, but a Zent must have the Grutrishets. He recognizes, the king, King Treacle, whatever his name is, he's a great guy. He's done a fantastic job without the Bible, but a king needs the Bible. And in fact, Rowlett was actually the one who contacted Gervasio and said, hey, do you want to be king of this country? So he was the instigator of all of this, which is absolutely insane. I mean, I said before that Grossum is Myne's big bad, but this dude feels like the big bad of the series, as he is, like I said, the primary instigator. And again, not wrong, a king needs the Bible, but, you could have just given the Bible to the current royal family, but then again, the current royal family kinda sucks. Anastasius would probably be a decent king, but he's a little bit too subservient to, Eglantine. And Siggy is just a complete and absolute moron, so yeah, no real good options right there. I like Hildebrand. I think Hildebrand could be a good king, but it's going to take quite a while before that happens, and the country's kind of, already falling apart, so they don't really have time for that. And with that, the epilogue ends with Gervasio, praying in front of the statue of Mestionora and getting summoned to the Golden Schumel. And I would very much hope that the Golden Schumel was like, hey, you're trying to take over this country. I'm not going to give you the Bible, but I don't think that's going to be the case. That would be a very anticlimactic ending to this series. It's like, yeah, no, we couldn't get the Bible. Don't worry about the invasion. He's already lost. Blah, blah. So, yeah, he's getting the Bible, and that's going to be bad. Very, very bad. But anyway, though, then it's time for the Defense of Ehrenfest. Several hundred pages after the battle already ended. Now we're going to have to find out more about it. Huzzah! Such a weird formatting, but whatever. Anyway, though, so first chapter is from Charlotte's point of view, and she is now serving as the interim archduke, which very much confused all of Wilfrid's retainers, because as far as they knew, Wilfrid was still supposed to be the next archduke, and yet Charlotte is getting the position instead of him. What's going on there? Until the Knights of Kernberger showed up and said, oh yeah, no, Myne's engaged to the royal prince. Because apparently Sylvester didn't bother telling them, hey, don't tell anybody about this. So they told everybody about this. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm very curious what that means for Barthold, because Barthold is making a huge fuss throughout these chapters, trying to get messages to Wilfrid, and actually has to be locked up along with the other namesworn. And I'm curious if he knows the truth or not, because it took 3 days before all the other retainers found out, but it depends on exactly when Barthold was locked up. If he was locked up after, he might still think that Wilfrid is the next Archduke, and I don't know, would it change if he found out the role had actually gone to Charlotte instead? And what is his plan? Seriously, what is this man's plan right now? And if he was free, what exactly would he have done? Like, they're like, oh, if he was free, he was going to cause all sorts of problems for everyone and probably try to overthrow the duchy. But would he have? Does he think that he has a better shot with Georgine? Would he have tried to use, like, the chaos to assassinate, like, Charlotte or Florentia or other people who he views as being a threat to Wilfrid's ascension? I don't know, but locking him up was definitely the very, very smart choice right there. That being said, though, I'm not a big fan of Florentia's plan to try and take a passive approach with Wilfrid. They're like, okay, so we know Bartold is leaking information to Oswald and is constantly antagonizing Wilfrid into doing stupider and stupider stuff. But Wilfrid really needs to come to that conclusion on his own, so I'm just not going to tell him. I'm just gonna wait and see how long it takes, that does make a certain level of sense in like peaceful times, but they're at a freaking war right now. And then Wilfrid, calls up Charlotte and says, "Hey, let me come protect you." The mood gets very awkward as they all think to themselves, "Yeah, Wilfrid can't actually come in here because we don't know who his attendants, who his retainers are actually spies. So let's send him off to go fight somebody else." It literally makes more sense to send him to the battlefield than it does to trust him with any sort of information. That is insane. We then had the Battle of the West Gate, which is just, oh god above, I loved it so much. I loved when Damuel is telling Myne about the battle. He says, "Yes, the captain of the West Gate, he terrified me." Like, what are you talking about? How did he terrify you? Well, he punched a Wolfaniel, punched another Wolfaniel, and then kicked Grousum, and just, god above, man, Gunther, you are a commoner, and you are going to full-blown war against nobles, and I loved it. Also loved just the utter and absolute glee the guards had as they were throwing literal human waste in the faces of nobles. Can you imagine what it's like to be a noble, to spend your entire life thinking, I am above the commoners, I am basically a god to them. And then to go to battle, instead of facing off against knights, you have human waste thrown in your face by commoners. I'm honestly surprised none of the nobles just like died out of just pure absolute rage. Like, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Also, we may have gotten another bit of, I don't know if this was mentioned before, it felt new to me. It's revealed that the reason why Myne was originally captured, was almost captured by the noble who broke into the temple, was because the Eastgate commander let him in because he was jealous of Gunther, and as a result, Gunther beat the dude within an inch of his life, which, oh, I want to see that. I very much want to see that. We're getting another season of the anime. Let's just have like one of the opening shots be Gunther just beating up this guard commander for letting Myne get attacked like that. Oh, that'd be amazing. Judith also gets a chapter, which I really like. I mean, she was so bummed about being left behind by everyone. But, she's able to play a role. She's able to stop the poison from killing all those knights. She's able to spot the enemies before they attack. And she's able to activate the pink stuffed Schumel that's dressed in a really cute little outfit, who then proves to be a god of death as it runs on very stumpy legs, and then with its golden scythe, cuts the attacking nobles almost in half. Good lord above, seriously. I mean, she actually said that the Schumel was stronger than the royal family and any archduke candidate, which is an absolutely insane line. Even more so than the next one. They will mercilessly slaughter anyone who threatened the temple. I feel like, in the future, the royal family is going to just fully bypass sovereign knights and just have like 5 Schumels guarding them, and that's all they need. Just those Schumels who can utterly eviscerate anyone who comes close to them. Then we have Florentia, who's, waiting in the secret passage for Georgine or some invader to come and attack them. And I love that Hartman's father has all these cool traps set up, like, oh, maybe this will work against the silver cloth, maybe this will work against it. I mean, there are some pretty insane methods they use here. When it came to the temple, they protected it with a bunch of marbles on the floor, which made Georgine, the fake Georgine, fall over, and then there was just, like, glue all over the place, so it, like, ripped off her silver cloth. They were able to attack her. When it came to Sylvester in the actual foundation hall, he actually had like giant bath pans ready to smash on people's heads, and glue traps and all these things. So he like literally spent his entire time down there just calling to Riarda like, hey, bring me more glue, bring me more wash tubs, so he could set all these things up. I mean, they did nothing, but just so absolutely slapstick, and I loved it. Anyway, though, Florentia managed to capture the fake Georgine, goes to the ivory tower for the first time in literal years, and then has a nice little conversation with her mother-in-law. Oh, God above, seriously. It's amazing that 6 years, this woman has been locked up for 6 freaking years, and she has not changed at all. Still accusing Florentia of seducing Ferdinand and Sylvester into locking her up, which I don't even understand that one. Like, I understand if she's like, oh, you convinced my son to arrest me over such a small, petty little crime. But no, she's actually saying, like, I didn't commit a crime. You just framed me for it. You committed a crime. You know you committed a crime. You know you handed off the form, you forged the archduke's signature and handed off a form to the high bishop. That is very clearly a crime that you yourself committed, and yet somehow you have convinced yourself that you did not commit the crime, and rather that it was all a frame job by Florentia. I don't even know how that works. I genuinely don't know how that thought process works, other than crazy. She's just fully crazy. I mean, that's certainly true, especially considering the fact that she actually says that Georgina is wonderfully obedient. Are you not aware that she tried to poison Sylvester? I mean, wasn't the reason why you sent her out of the duchy because you knew that she would be a threat to Sylvester? And now you're saying that she is wonderfully obedient. Amazing. And then Veronica takes it a step too far. I mean, up to this point, Florentia's like, you know, I have better things to do. I have things I need to worry about, so I'm just going to leave this crazy woman in her cell. Until the crazy woman says, and once that sweet young boy comes of age, he will take over as Archduke and rescue me. Yeah, Veronica, you gotta know, him coming to see you, him making that promise was a crime. And while you've been locked up, that crime has completely and absolutely destroyed his life, as he is now looked at and seen as a criminal. It is, and that's enough. That is enough just to fully break Florentia. Her rage boils over, and she decides to completely and utterly destroy Veronica, telling her that, you know, her mother's beloved home duchy, yeah, it's basically not there anymore. Ferdinand, the boy that she's hated her entire life and always viewed as worthless, has been acknowledged by the Zend and has basically been told to take charge of the duchy. Meanwhile, its foundation was stolen by Myne. And while she doesn't actually know who that name is, I think she says Myne. She's able to figure out, like, oh, Myne, the commoner. The commoner? My duchy, my mother's home duchy, was stolen by a commoner? Just the look on her face. Oh my God, above. This look on her face as she is completely and absolutely broken. It is so beautiful. I love it. I mean, I said this before, but I really do think that at some point in the distant future, once Wilfrid has really matured, he needs to come back to the Ivory Tower with his father, sister's permission, whoever's permission he needs at that point, and basically confront Veronica like, hey, so the way you raised me was really messed up, and I decided I don't want to become the Archduke. I'm perfectly fine being Gabe, Knight Commander, whatever my role currently is. I'm happy with my life as it is right now. I don't think she would accept that. I think she would scream and curse and call him a traitor, but I think it's something he does need to do at some point for a certain sense of closure. And finally, we end things off with Sylvester, who might genuinely be the most lucky man in the entire world, as he's in the Foundation when he gets told, hey, we captured Georgine. So he leaves the Foundation, at which point Georgine throws in a whole bunch of instant death poison, which would have 100% killed him if he'd been there. And then he gets another message saying, hey, it's a fake Georgine, hurry back in the Foundation. And if he hadn't gotten that second message, then Georgine would have stolen the Foundation without him even realizing it. So he gets there as she's washing the room, and she walks in and is like, how are you not dead? Luck. Literal luck. And that is such a good representation of their relationship right here. Georgine, she put the work in. She was skilled. She tried harder than anyone else in the entire world to become the Archduke. And Sylvester was born a guy, so the role just went to him. They decided, okay, he's going to become Archduke simply because of his gender, simply because of the way he was born. And again throughout his entire life, Sylvester just keeps getting lucky, and because of it, his duchy has gone from bottom of the barrel to nearly top ranked. So yeah, really sucks for Georgine. Though that being said, Sylvester has put a lot of work in the past few years, and we see this in this fight, because thanks to all the mana compression he's been doing, thanks to Myne's new method, his mana is stronger than hers, and he's able to outpower her and defeat her. And he really, really doesn't want to kill her, really was trying to find an alternative, until she gives the order to all of her namesworn to just, go on a mass killing spree, at which point, okay, sorry sis, you have to die. It's such a weird scene because, he is so emotional as he does that. But then, he cuts off her head, sticks it in a box, cuts out her face stone, and sticks it in another box. Okay, that was a whole lot easier than killing her. Oh, nobles, man, they are absolutely a wild bunch, and I love them. But yeah, anyway, that was my thoughts on this volume. Looks like next volume we're getting into the actual battle against Rowlet, Gervasio, and even Detland, who is gonna play some role, I guess, because if not, why is she still alive? Other than Ferdinand, wanting to kill her personally, which would be nice. Honestly, I would very much like it if she just died next volume, or, I don't know, was eaten by a tree, faced some sort of horrible, unending suffering, pain, punishment, whatever. Throw her in the same cell as Veronica. That could be funny. Yeah, seriously, just lock those two up together and just watch them annoy each other to death. I would absolutely love to see that. Anyway, though, absolutely love this volume. I loved that everyone got a chance to get a shot in at Grossum. And I love that the man was just clinically incapable of not underestimating Myne, and it literally cost him his life. Huzzah! And now moving on to the next battle at the Royal Academy, where it seems to be a Grutrichet, I literally don't know how to pronounce that word. I just say Magic Bible because it's easier. A Magic Bible wielder against a Magic Bible wielder. And I do also love that Rob literally says, I will not let Ferdinand get the Magic Bible. It's like, dude, he has had that Magic Bible since he was a freaking teenager. You are way too late for that. Seriously, I want him just pull it out in his battle against Rowlet and be like, actually, yeah, I've had this for decades. I just didn't feel like becoming king. That would be amazing. That would absolutely be amazing. But let me think also down below. What do you think of Grossum's exit? What do you think of everyone getting a shot in at him? Do you think all the fake Grossums are dead? I mean, there's a 99.999% chance that the Grossum with a, mechanical arm was the real one. But I do love the idea the real one is actually the one that Judah faced with and who was killed by the mechanical rabbit. That would be a fantastic end for that character. No way it's true, but I love the idea of that. Let me think of everything down below. And until next time, peace!